Okay, I've got a surprise for you. Some of you may have seen this before, but others may have not. What's one common way to fix bite issues? Whether it's underbite or overbite. If you were thinking rubber bands, then you are correct. There is a unique technique that we as orthodontists can apply if you have an underbite or an overbite that's not too significant by using rubber bands plus this really cool device. Let me show you. There it is. You see that? See that? 2 bars on the top. So in this case, these bars are called the Carriere appliance. I think I'm saying that right. Or the motion device. Basically, you glue them to the teeth on top or the teeth on bottom, depending on if it's an overbite, overjet, or underbite, right? If your top teeth are in front of your bottom teeth in a decent amount, then we would use those bars on the top. And the purpose of those bars is to help apply a force that drives the top teeth back in order to pull your front teeth back towards your bottom teeth. There's different ways you can do this, but this particular company came out with this device. And the idea, you're like, what's different about this than braces? Well, usually you put this on before you get braces in that same arch. So for example, if you have excessive overjet, right? Or you're trying to correct the class 2, pull the top teeth back to the bottom teeth. Well, you're gonna put the bars on the top and then you're gonna put some sort of appliance on the bottom. It could be just like a retainer or it could be braces. And then you were gonna hook a rubber band from the top down to the bottom, right? So the rubber band is hooked from the bottom, look at that, up to the top appliance, right? From the bottom to the top. And normally you have a wire in on the bottom, or you have a retainer that's helping hold those teeth. Well, and usually you do this first. Okay, so that means that you're just starting treatment, you get this on, and you start wearing rubber bands from the beginning. Otherwise, if you just have, brackets in place on top and on bottom, then the first thing you do is usually you get into like a really light wire that you have to twist teeth, and so there's not a lot of control, and you can't do the rubber bands until later, or at least that's the idea is maybe you hold off on the rubber bands while you straighten up the teeth a little bit more. Well, if you do this appliance, usually you get to start the rubber bands first, and so the idea is that, hey, the patient is super excited about wearing rubber bands and is going to be really compliant wearing the rubber bands all the time because they're not burnt out yet by just everything. And when they wear those rubber bands, you fix the bite first and then you finish straightening up the rest of the teeth. Not that you wouldn't use rubber bands later, but that's the idea here. It's kind of a cool concept. It can really work. It doesn't have to be this specific device, but they've built it this way and it can work great, assuming again you're good with rubber bands. But the idea is if you do the rubber bands first when you're super excited about everything, then maybe you'll see great results because you're very compliant. Now, what you can see if it's worked is that you start getting spaces in front of the teeth that the rubber bands are hooked on. So the rubber bands hook onto this bar and the bar is attached to the canine and the molar. Sometimes it could be the premolar and the molar. Anyways, if you're wearing it enough, then you should start seeing spaces in between maybe the center tooth or right in front of the canines by the laterals. That would be a sign that you are fixing it correctly. So this patient has been doing the motion device and has done pretty well. We can see some small spaces appearing on both sides. Now, again, this wasn't a huge correction, but it was a correction, and now he's got the teeth that fit. Top canine fits right behind the bottom canine. Mwah, beautiful. So we are ready to remove these appliances and move into the top braces. Whenever you put rubber bands on, you can pull off the brackets. They shouldn't just come off, but if you're not being careful, if you just like pull your rubber band off, it could pop off the bracket. Same thing with this bar. So the idea is that you pull it away, up and away from the actual metal component, the hook, and then you pull it out, right? So you pull it up and away and then out. Always, down or up first before you just pull it straight out. Otherwise, like I said, you might pop the bracket off. And to get this off, we use the same bracket remover. We grab it right underneath there and it pops off. It separates the glue from the tooth. There it is. It's just a bar. Some orthodontists don't even buy this and they just make their own bar and they glue it to the teeth. This one's kind of cool because it's got the kind of the fatter portion, the rounder portion. It's mobile there. And so it can rotate with the tooth. Clever design. Not that you get as excited about it as I do, but anyways, cool appliance. You don't have to have it, but neat technique, right? You grab underneath it, squeeze. Hopefully you don't have to you're not trying to like torque on it. You're just trying to pressure that separates it from the tooth. Bada bing, bada boom, it's off. And again, because it's like a bracket, right? It's just a bar. We're gonna clean it off the same way we would with a bracket, and that's just with a high-speed handpiece and bzzz. Or some goggles if you want. Not like swimming goggles, I guess you could, but just glasses, protect your eyes. Try to get all the glue and the primer resin off so that we can put new brackets on. Or if you're all done, then just try to make it as clean and smooth as possible. Raise your left hand if you want the orthodontist provider to take a break. Rinse out. Look at that. Gone. Clean it all out. And some suction. And then we go through our process of putting brackets on. You can check out all the videos if you want a very detailed explanation of what's happening. But we're gonna get brackets on and we're gonna line everything else up, close the spaces, probably maintain some of the rubber bands, and boom, be done. Well, there you have it. I just wanted to share that was a cool new technique that we hadn't talked about before, the motion device. If your orthodontist talks to you about that, that's not crazy. It can be very effective. If we're talking about super excessive overjets, I think they would argue that they could still work, but the bigger we get with overjets or underbites, the more compliant you have to be with rubber bands, the more diligent you have to be at wearing the rubber bands as much as possible, and it just gets trickier. So that's why I still love the idea of growth modification, particularly when it comes to the excessive overjets. But anyways, if you're interested in the motion device or just fixing your overjet, maybe you have a friend that is, share this video with them. Come find us in McKinney Texas so that we can help you with your straight teeth and beautiful bites. That's all I've got, just a little PF on so you know where you're going. Packard out.